Behind every great leader is a great mentor. It's time to meet yours face to face. We speak to Pearl Kupe, a true influencer. Then we talk to the legendary Joffe, the Mentorship Challenge with Marc Wainer.
Welcome to the Mentorship Challenge. I'm Marc Wainer, and I'm living proof of the impact that mentorship can have on a person's life and career. Throughout my career, I've been very fortunate to have been mentored by some incredible people, and there's no doubt that this has contributed enormously to my success. The purpose of this program is to connect as many people as we can with some of the incredible guests and people who've registered on our website who no doubt will have an impact on your life. If you haven't done so already, I urge you to register on our website now. It could change your life. With me now is Dr. Pearl Kupe. Pearl, welcome and thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you, Mark. It's an absolute privilege and an honor to be here. Before you even ask me any question, I want to commend you for this initiative. It's an amazing initiative and it's a sorely needed initiative. So I think well done to you and the team.
Thank you. Thank you. As I said, I've had the benefit of being mentored and over the last few years, the privilege of mentoring some young people who've now just started, some of them, to sort of move into the area where they're becoming successful and making progress. So when we saw the impact that has on just a few people, we said if we can spread this and just change the lives of hundreds of people,
yes,
they will in time become entrepreneurs, leaders in their field, create employment.
Yes.
And very often, and I'm sure you do it because this is what you do, sometimes people just need a nudge in the right direction, a little bit of advice, and it makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
So Pearl, you started your career, first you were born in Zimbabwe, started your career as an attorney in Botswana, and then have moved on. You're an attorney, you're an activist, you're an international consultant, an author and a minister.
And a busybody.
And a busybody, okay. I didn't know about that part, wasn't on your CV. So with all these things you're doing, and for the benefit of you, what Pearl seems to specialize in is training and leaders worldwide, okay? She's consulting to governments, to national people, training women and training youth, which is an amazing thing. Where do you find you get the most satisfaction in terms of what you do?
I think just pouring back into people. I'm a firm believer that when you have the privilege, like you said, where somebody has added value to you, I'm a firm believer in giving back. Giving back, it's one of the principles that my parents taught me, that if you are privileged to get certain information or even resources that you have to share, there's an onus on you to give back. And I think the great thing about mentorship is it allows you to give back. So whatever information that you've received, whatever expertise that you've received, whatever knowledge you've received, it allows you to give back to somebody else. So perhaps they may not have to go through the same challenges. Perhaps they may not have to make the same mistakes.
You've had this long, varied career.
Yeah.
If you could go back 25 years or whatever it was, starting again or close to starting again, is there things that you would have done differently?
Honestly speaking, it may sound like a cliche, but I don't think I would have done anything differently. And I say this because the mistakes I made were my greatest learning experiences.
Yes.
So I value every mistake. I personally, I've certainly made a lot of them, but those were my greatest lessons learned.
Sure.
Because, you'll not forget the pain of making a wrong decision or wrong mistake. That's the lesson that will really stick in your mind.
So if there are people out there who want to enter the workforce today in whatever field, what advice would you give to a young woman?
Well, first of all, I believe in purpose and passion being connected. So don't pursue something that you're looking for money. Money will burn you out, but passion will feed you. Passion energizes.
That is a fantastic quote. I love it. So we talk about people changing attitudes and things.
Yeah.
We're coming up to some interesting times in December in terms of the ANC election. What do you think the impact would be on South Africa if we had a woman president?
The thing is, I'm not too woman or male. We want an accountable leader. We want a responsible leader. And one of the things I teach, Mark, is servant leadership. If we want to build our nation, it has to be done together, and it has to be built by leaders who have character and values. So mentoring will be a very important aspect of that.
I think nation building is something that's incumbent on every citizen.
Absolutely.
And we really have to look at it. We can sit and complain, the government does or doesn't do this. This is a problem.
Yeah.
We have to look forward.
Yeah.
And we have to say, what can we do? I think that this country has an enormous pool of talent amongst our youth.
Yes, absolutely.
Everybody says it's a problem, it's an unemployment. I say it's not a problem. This is our greatest resource.
This is a challenge.
This is a resource.
It's a resource, and it's a challenge for all of us.
And it's a challenge, and we have to tap into it and find a way.
We have a proverb, I speak a few languages, and there's a proverb in the Tswana language that says, "Khosi ke khosi ka batho," which means a chief or a leader is only chief because of the people. So essentially, it's advocating for servant leadership. So you're not a leader so that you can brag about how big you are and so people can polish your shoes. The aspect of leadership is it imposes obligation and responsibility so that you know that you are there to serve the people, to serve their interests, to find out what their challenges are. And so that is the leader I'm looking for, and I'm sure the rest of South Africa is looking for. That servant leader who has character, integrity, honesty, not leaders who are corrupt in any way, but leaders with integrity, leaders who will role model values, leaders who are concerned about citizens. Whether they're male or female, to me, is neither here nor there, as long as they're a servant leader.
So Pearl, thank you. It's really what you've done is amazing. I think there are dozens and dozens of people out there who are going to ask to be mentored by you because it's broad, it's general, but it's sincere, and it's leadership, its qualities, its values that people, in no matter what career they're pursuing, these are values and things that will stand them in good stead over many, many years.
Absolutely.
So you know why you here, aside from entertaining our viewers and the rest of it. We want you now to pledge some of your valuable time and hours when you're not on an aeroplane somewhere. So how many hours are you going to be able to give us to help people out there?
I would like to pledge 24 hours in this next
24,
year. Is that little?
It's an odd number. How about?
Odd, it's an even number. Where did you go to school, Mark?
We count in tens.
Oh, you count in tens?
10, 20, 30.
Oh, 10, 20, 30 decimals.
Yeah.
Okay.
30.
Yeah, you know you're a little bit of a calm man here. You want 30.
30.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
So we got you for 30.
Okay.
Thank you. And now the next question I have for you is, do you have an associate, a friend, who you could challenge to give us some time that people would benefit from?
Well, I would like to challenge a friend, an associate, Dr. Maxwell Holland. He's very passionate about mentorship. In fact, we've got some little initiatives we started as well. And leadership, he's got something called the Leadership 318 engine that he started.
We're going to tell him that you've challenged him.
Yes.
And if he doesn't respond with more than 30 or at least 30 hours, but hopefully more,
that's right,
we're going to name and shame him.
That's right. Let's do the name and shame.
Let's do the name and shame. Pearl, it's been an absolute privilege. You're such a bubbly personality with so much enthusiasm and excitement in you. I just hope that our viewers out there, it comes across and they see what a difference one person can make to so many people's lives. Well done. It's been a privilege. Thank you. Pearl, as a token of appreciation for your appearing on the show, giving us your valuable time, I'd like to give you a copy of my book, Making My Mark.
Wow.
I hope you enjoy it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate it.
If you would like to be mentored by Pearl or any one of the other incredible people who've registered on our website as mentors, please register now. There are hundreds of hours that have been pledged, and there is definitely a mentor out there who will suit you. Register, it could change your life. See you after the break. Our guest this evening is Brian Joffe, one of South Africa's most successful entrepreneurs ever, a businessman, a philanthropist, a photographer, I think a golfer, but he certainly needs no introduction. Besides everything else you've done, you've published books, but what really appealed to me is the quotes. You've paired every photograph with quotes, ranging from people like Alexander the Great, historians, and people from history, and Bill Gates. But the ones that really got to me were some of your own quotes. And I'd like to start with one which reads, "When the sky is dark and threatening, the stars are still shining." To me, that kind of says, this is where we are in South Africa today.
When the clouds are up in the sky, that's the time when there's most opportunity. And I think for South Africa, what we need to do is to make sure that everybody gets an equal opportunity at seeing the stars, and I guess that's what we're about.
Currently, economically, the way the country's been run, the corruption that we see, this hole that we seem to have, I don't know if any government can sort it out. Do you see light at the end of the tunnel?
Look, I mean, we're not dealing with major issues. I mean, we're dealing with a particular issue, which is corruption. And corruption principally starts at the top, and one has got to be in a position to be able to trust one's leaders. And if the leadership has got credibility and trust, then I think then the universe and obviously the citizens of the country will follow. So I think it is fixable. I don't think it's a big issue to fix.
In any business scenario, you, as the leader of a massive business organization, have to have trust in the people who are working for you, and they have to have trust in you. And similarly with anybody in government or any organization, I think trust is what is fundamental to all of it. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And I mean, the business principles by which I've always operated has been decentralization. And decentralization obviously means trust, because if you don't trust anybody, then you can't have a decentralized organization. So it's been fundamental to my success over many years, and I think it also gives empowerment to the people who work in an organization.
Brian is a serial entrepreneur. He's one of the biggest job creators that South Africa's seen. He's winner of multiple awards as Businessman of the Year, Entrepreneur of the Year, one of the 25 most influential in people by Forbes, and so on and so on. But Brian, you started your career as a CA. At the age of about 30, you decided to go into all things the pet food business, where you bought a 50% share in a pet food business with 49,000 rands worth of borrowed money. You then bought out your partner a few years later and expanded the business. Your wife was driving forklift trucks to help you. And
I never paid her for that, by the way.
And I'm sure she says you've never paid her for anything she's done for you.
That's true.
Okay? You sell the pet food business for about $1 million US, and you take yourself off to America, basically you retire mid-30s to go and play golf in America. And you do that for how many years?
For almost 3 years.
3 years, playing golf every day.
Played every day except for Sundays and Tuesdays. On Sundays I didn't play because I was threatened with divorce, and Tuesdays the course was closed.
And is your golf any good?
Not today. It was okay in those days. I mean, I was in, I forget, Golf Digest or one of those things, is one of the most improved golfers in the United States at one point. But I'm not particularly good golfer. No, I'm okay. I beat my friends.
Okay, well that's good.
That's all that's important.
Well, that's good, and I hope you made some money along the way.
Yeah, but only in theory, because they never paid their debts.
So you come back to South Africa, you start consulting, you work for, was it Standard Bank or Standard Merchant, and that brings you into contact with really one of the best businessmen in South Africa, Manny Sienkiewicz. So Manny then buys a business from Standard and says he'll only buy it if you come along.
You know a lot, eh?
Yeah, I do some research.
Good.
Okay. And so off you go, and you're now working with Manny. Was he a mentor for you?
Yeah, Manny was a mentor. I think Manny and my father and uncle were obviously very influential in my life. I think Manny probably more so than anybody else, because I mean I was on the job with him, and I was working as a executive in his businesses. Yeah, and you're right. I think he was one of the smartest of the business people that I've met in my lifetime. In those days, remember we were talking about 1988, 1989.
I remember it very clearly.
Was not in its best shape, and I think everybody was looking at doom and gloom, as potentially they are looking at it today, and people should remember that what happened in 1988, in 1989, and look where one finds oneself in the year 2017. We'll look back in the year 2030 and look back on year 2017 and say, what an opportunity that was.
Absolutely.
And I think that people must see that today. Nothing's going to happen here other than success, and I think there's no big hole that's going to get dug for anybody. And I think that provided we get ourselves on a credible footing, I think South Africa still has some future.
Okay, so you start with Chipkins, you add a few other businesses. Did you envisage, I mean, you had vision, you had some kind of a strategy, but did you think then that 30 years,
25 years on,
27 years, that you would end up retiring from a business with a market cap of about 140 billion, employing close to 150,000 people? Was that ever in your imagination?
If I give you the true story, is I think when the share price listed originally, which was before the shares were split 10 for 1, the share price I got was R2.80. I paid it a share. And the next day when the shares listed, it was R4.20. And if it's not for my friends, I would have sold the whole lot on that particular day, and I would have been out of it. And I wouldn't be sitting here with you looking back.
You would have retired for the second time.
I would have retired only for a week or two, because it wouldn't have been a hell of a lot to live on, obviously, with inflation the way it was. Now, I didn't envisage anything like this, and I think you're giving me maybe more credit than I'm deserving, because I'm a very opportunistic business or entrepreneur, and I never had a vision of what was to come. And I think that what I think that we did well was to take or seize upon the opportunities that came along over the years.
Then you kind of stepped out of your core, and you were very opportunistic, and you bought McCarthy Motors, okay, for, if I remember correctly, 1 cent a share when the market said it was worth 30 or 40.
Well, I don't remember the exact. All I do remember was that we paid about 600 million for it and had about 900 million of cash, of value. So, yeah, look, that was another one of those opportunistic things. So the market was very poor at the time. 3 weeks later, interest rates changed, and we were on the right side of the game. So, yeah, look, at the end of the day, you've got to be lucky too. So, I mean, today the industry is also, but if you take the motor industry, maybe it's an opportunity today.
Absolutely. But now you employ 150,000 people, almost, and you've got to motivate these people. So there's something in the Bidvest group called Joffe for Joffe, okay, which I found quite incredible. So maybe just explain that.
So one of the things that I'm a firm believer in, profit is not a motivator or should never be a measuring tool of success of a business, because you can make a profit and still go bankrupt. So we always worked on the principle of returns. So if you take the Bidvest model was for a head office to allocate capital to various people, and their challenge was to make a return on the assets given to them to manage. And that was the return on funds employed, which is the return on net assets, if you want to call it that, which we obviously measured them on. So their returns and their bonuses.
But you took that all the way down to the tea lady, to the guy who started the truck. I mean, I was doing some numbers. I found it incredible, because you say, so the tea lady gets allocated tea bags, okay? 150,000 people having 3 cups of tea a day is about 500,000, just over, or just around underneath 500,000 tea bags. So if the tea bag lady gets rewarded for using the tea bag twice, that's a day, correct? So, I mean, it runs into millions and millions.
Now that I think about it, I should have done a deal with AVI.
Yes.
I mean, we should have got tea bags at half the price.
And they talk about how long the person who's delivering idles their truck. All of these things were measurable in terms of the group, and all of which help contain expenses.
And I think the more important thing is that they knew what the impact was of their job on the total. So if there was an extra tea bag, it wasn't necessarily 1 cent of the tea bag. It obviously was 150,000 times a cent times, obviously. So
Absolutely.
They knew that.
So that's I think is amazing, that you were able to get people to understand that. Don't go away. We'll be continuing our discussion with Brian after the break. Let me ask you this question. Going back in your career, not everything has been successful. You've made mistakes.
Lots.
Right? Any that you have real regrets about?
Well, I don't have regrets about making mistakes, because I think you have to make some mistakes in order to advance. I mean, some things I wouldn't do. I mean, I've had some successful things that I've done that I wouldn't have done in retrospect. But I suppose the biggest space that I suppose I do have some regret, and we invested in France, we lost 300 million. So, but we created 150 odd billion. So 300 million is not a hell of a lot in that context.
But we all live with one of those.
We live
regrets.
with them and whatever. And I sold assets which I shouldn't have sold, but I'm very happy. Listen, what's not to be happy about?
Mistakes are a learning experience.
For sure.
Is people are focused on what is here today, what's wrong with it, can I fix it, but not the vision to see where this business is
Many
going.
people concentrate on buying good businesses. And if you're buying good businesses, you overpay. The answer at the end of the day is you have to buy businesses that have got potential, not the ones that are well run.
You retired mid-30s, okay, to go and play golf. You come back, build up this huge empire, retire at 70, and decide you're going to start all over again.
Not so many years gone by, most people used to retire at 60 and used to die at 70, 75. Now you're retiring at 65 odd, and you're living to 90. And there's a huge market that's being created between these so-called 65 and 90-year-olds. And that's the space that I'm hoping that we will be able to exploit and get something out of.
So Brian, we know that you were mentored by your uncle in the pharmacy business, your parents, Manny Simkovitz. All of this put together, did this help you in your business, in decisions that you made? Did you ever find yourself in a situation where you were looking to make a decision and say, okay, Manny would have done this or something like that?
I think it started on the dining room table. I think a large part of the mentorship that I had was discussing business at dinner. And I think that my family, especially my uncle, used to take me along to all the negotiations that they had at the time. So I used to be involved in reading contracts, meeting with lawyers. As I said, the dinner table was a big part of the mentorship that I got, fortunately, and I was lucky from that point of view. So I was always, from a reasonably early age, involved with top people who were involved in these things. So I had a...
So you think, because I come from similar background and worked in my parents' supermarket, do you think that the background that you have, coming from a family where people are working, where people have got a business, has an impact on an entrepreneur?
Well, I think you've now hit the nail on the head, because that's what this mentorship program is about. That these people who haven't had the opportunity to sit at the dining room table with people who are involved in business, these are the people that need to be involved in this program.
The ideal person that you would like to mentor, what's the profile?
I think that I would like to find somebody who's a trader, who likes to buy and sell goods, who wanting to build a business of scale. Well, I really don't have any preference to somebody, as long as they're enthusiastic about what they're doing. I mean, I don't want anybody to come to mentor someone who feels that it's a hurdle for them.
Yeah. We've discussed your life, your successes, your new venture, which I'm sure is going to be hugely successful. And you've already purchased Sorbet, the nail bar, in that business. You are waiting for a decision. I think everybody knows about More Sport. And I have no doubt that there are many others lined up waiting to join the new Brian Joffe stable. How many hours can we get out of you to mentor somebody?
Listen, if I got somebody who was really smart to mentor, maybe I wouldn't be able to take them very long to teach them what I know. For me, it's very hard to say. I wouldn't like to put time on it. I'd like to do a proper job with whomever. I obviously can't do it every single day.
No, we're not asking.
So I'm saying, I don't know, a couple of days, whatever it is, whatever it takes to give somebody a start in life.
So we've got a starting point, let's say a couple of days. So if I said to you 30 hours?
No, it has to be 36. Because I only work in 18s.
Okay, great. So we've got 36.
36 hours.
That's fantastic.
How many are you giving?
I was waiting for one of the guests to ask me that question. I'm already mentoring 4 or 5
Well, you're mentoring me at the moment.
Mentoring you. But there's never a discussion without a negotiation. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll match you.
Okay.
Do you have anybody else, either within your organization or somebody you know, who you think would be prepared to also give us some of their valuable hours?
Listen, I think a guy who I'm working with closely today, especially on the SMME fund with the government, is Adrian Gore. I think Adrian should step forward, because we talk about mentoring in the SMME fund every single week.
So for those who don't know, Adrian Gore, and I'm a little bit speechless, is the CEO of Discovery. I know Brian is close to him. We will, through you, be contacting Adrian and asking him to match what you've given us. As a token of appreciation, I'd like to give you a copy of my book, Making
It
Our
doesn't
Mark.
look like you, but
If you would like to be mentored by Brian, please visit our website and register as a mentee. It could change your life. Thanks, Brian. It was amazing. Thank you.
cheers, thanks.